When we talk about mainstream media manipulation, we often focus our conversation around lies, propaganda, and fake news. All very dangerous. But another method of which the media manipulates the public is narrative-based news. We see it all the time. Most of the public doesn't even realize it's happening. Just look at the 2016 presidential election. Whether it's Russia, Saudi Arabia, Mexico, Pakistan, China, to some degree, all of these foreign nations attempted to meddle, influence, interfere in the 2016 American presidential election. This is nothing new. Foreign countries always try to interfere in the elections of the United States of America, and the United States of America is the worst perpetrator when it comes to interfering in the elections of other countries. Whether it's Obama's actions in Israel, whether it's just outright invading countries, overthrowing Iraq, whether it's killing Gaddafi in Libya, whether it's forces within the United States pushing for regime change in America's occupation of Syria. So, countries all over the world interfere in the elections of other countries. But thanks to narrative-based news and omissions, the public is largely unaware of this. Instead, what you hear is Russia, Russia, Russia. Russia meddled in the 2016 American presidential election. This is a catastrophe. This is an act of war. If it was an act of war, then every country on the globe, seemingly, would be at war with every other country because they're all election meddlers, especially the United States of America, who, oh, by the way, has meddled in the elections in Russia. So narrative-based news can be very powerful. Well, a few days ago, big story broke. I'm sure you heard about it by now. James Gunn, a Disney employee, is something I cannot stress enough the importance of. James Gunn, a Disney employee, best known for being the director of Guardians of the Galaxy, who has since been fired. He was going to be the director of Guardians of the Galaxy 3. James Gunn was fired because Mike Cernovich, independent journalist, uncovered old tweets by Gunn in which routinely, over the course of years, made many disgusting references to child sex exploitation, pedophilia, and even supporting of NAMBLA, a group that sole purpose is to essentially defend and normalize pedophiles. I'm not going to read you the tweets because they are truly so heinous that I don't want someone to be able to edit the video and say, oh, look at what Tom said. Maybe I'll talk about this live and we'll go over the tweets one by one and talk about how heinous these tweets actually were. But what I will do is in the description notes and in the comment that I'll pin to the top, I will post the link to an article which lists all of the disgusting tweets made by James Gunn. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that we should be the offense police, that we should attack people for offensive tweets. So, we'll get back to that. So, following the release of these tweets and James Gunn being exposed, the media, rather than attacking Gunn, in large part engaged in a character assassination of Mike Cernovich, the right-wing, the conservative journalist who exposed the very disturbing past of James Gunn. You had a Yahoo article which accused Mike Cernovich and Jack Posobiec of being white supremacist. First of all, that's not true. If you follow Mike Cernovich, he has stated that he actually believes, in his opinion, white privilege to be a thing. And the example he uses is he has a friend and they were walking through a grocery store together and Mike picked up a candy bar and he ate it. And his black friend said, "Are you crazy? Why would you do that. We could get in trouble. And Mike just looked at him like, what are you talking about? When I'm on the way out, I'm just going to tell them that I ate a candy bar and they'll ring it up. And his black friend explained to him that, in his opinion, a black person couldn't do that because they might be arrested for robbery. I'm not saying whether I agree with that or disagree with that, but Mike took that personal experience of his and drew the conclusion that, in his opinion, white privilege is a thing. Doesn't sound much like a white supremacist, now does it? But the media attempted an ad hominem attack, a character assassination. And I say ad hominem because it's an attack on the messenger rather than the message. The truth is, even if Mike Cernovich was a white supremacist, which if he was, then I wouldn't be someone that follows him, but he's not. But even if he were, it doesn't make you right to attack the messenger of an argument. If your argument is correct, then you should be attacking the argument Cernovich was making himself. So if you don't think there's anything wrong with the tweets that James Gunn wrote, then defend the tweets. Don't attack Mike Cernovich. So the media engaged in a character assassination of Cernovich, and people like Michael Ian Black and Patton Oswalt came to the defense of James Gunn, these Hollywood superstars. And I'm not going to read the tweets to you again, they're disgusting. They came to the defense of Gunn, and as it turns out, people went through their old tweets and they had a bunch of tweets which pedophilia was the topic. I'll let you look that up and let you use your imagination as to what that might mean. But other than attacking Cernovich, the media's second response was to label James Gunn's tweets as offensive. And they said, all of you hypocritical right-wingers, you came to the defense of Roseanne. Well, if Roseanne shouldn't have been fired, then James Gunn certainly shouldn't be fired. Now, you all know that I'm the first person to reject political correctness. I think we should make jokes about off-color things because we can't allow the language police to censor people's speech based on people being afraid of what the public response might be. But what Roseanne did and what James did, well, you're comparing apples to oranges and attempting to make it look like they did the same thing. First off, James Gunn tweeted about pedophilia, which is a crime, but that doesn't make him a pedophile, and it's not illegal to joke about crimes. It does tell us something about his psychology, which might be a little bit disgusting. And I will post the tweets, and I do suggest you go back and read them, because it's absolutely disgusting. But it goes a step further. And here's why it's apples to oranges, and you can't compare it to Roseanne, or categorize what he did as offensive. James Gunn, a Disney employee who has direct power over children who work for him on Disney films and has access to children at Disney-type events such as Comic-Con, which he was at the other day. James Gunn, on top of his very disturbing tweets, has posted pictures of him at parties with Houston Huddleston. I hadn't heard of him before this, but I don't run in those circles. Well, it turns out Houston Huddleston, who James Gunn had posted pictures of being parties, he was at parties with this guy, has himself been charged with possession of child pornography. He was also charged with contacting a minor with the intent to commit a felony. And he would ultimately plead guilty in a settlement as to avoid a more stiff jail sentence. He would plead guilty to possession of child pornography. So James Gunn, on top of his disturbing tweets about pedophilia over a long period of time while being a Disney employee, also seems to run in circles with convicted pedophiles. And it doesn't stop there. Huddleston posted on Gunn's Facebook page a video titled 100 pubescent girls, and I'm going to break up what I'm saying here. So what I just said, because I don't even want people to hear me say this, touching themselves. With the comment, Huddleston wrote the comment to Gunn that he hopes Gunn appreciates the video. In which Gunn, and there was a link, which I haven't clicked on because I'm not doing it. In which Gunn responded to that link that Gunn just came all over his own face. So now, you have a Disney employee with direct power over children, with a history of making what he describes as off-color jokes, time and time again, about the topic of pedophilia and disgusting things that in these jokes he claims to have done to young boys or wishes to do to young children, who has posted pictures of himself or has had pictures posted of him at parties hanging out with convicted pedophiles, who post on his Facebook wall videos disgusting, what would be illegal videos, by the way, so I hope someone's looking into this, of which he responded that Gunn came all over his face watching the videos. That is not the same as Roseanne making what you deem to be a racist joke. That is a pattern of behavior that I would hope accompanied Disney, which centers around children, would find disturbing enough, like, hey, enough smoke, there's fire, to no longer allow that person, just on suspicion, to be around children or to represent a company that is supposed to be centered around children. Do you see how this is apples to oranges? And I hope there is a criminal investigation looking into this. So the media attempted to spin the narrative as, oh, this was just offensive tweets. No, this is a pattern of very disturbing behavior, which needs to be investigated, because if the pattern proves true, it would mean that children, the most vulnerable members of our society, are at risk to becoming victims to absolutely the most heinous crime in our society. And with all of that evidence, do you think the CEO of Disney should continue to employ this man? Absolutely not, because there is enough smoke to consider him, at least consider him a suspect. Law enforcement should look into it as a physical danger. Now, I would never call him a pedophile, because, you know, there's legal liability with that. But what I would say is that he talks a lot about pedophilia, and apparently he parties with pedophiles, and pedophiles post videos on his wall which they claim to be of a pedophilia nature, and he has a positive, I guess you could define it as positive response to those videos. You could make up your own mind about what James Gunn may or may not be. So the question is, why does the media cover this type of stuff up? Because James Gunn is another social justice warrior, progressive, political correct, the government should have all the power and you shouldn't be able to spew your hate speech. It's funny because he called for the firing of Roseanne for what actually was just a joke that some people deem to be racist. Again, racism is different because it doesn't put children, the most vulnerable people in our society, at risk to the most heinous crime in our society. But why does the media cover this up? Why does the media cover up the crimes of Harvey Weinstein? They knew back in 2004. Why does the media cover up the crimes of Kevin Spacey and him being exposed now as himself being a pedophile? Why do the members of Hollywood defend this? Michael Ian Black, Patton Oswalt. Again, their comments, they'll be posted in the link I'll post below. So I do suggest you read the article so you could read the actual tweets that they wrote. It's disgusting stuff. Why does Hollywood defend Roman Polanski? Why did Quentin Tarantino come to the defense of Roman Polanski? Now, Polanski didn't just have sex with a 13-year-old girl when he was in his 40s or 50s, I believe. Imagine if that was your daughter. What Polanski did was he actually gave her alcohol and drugged a 13-year-old girl and then raped her, not even in her vagina, he raped her in her ass. Think about how disgusting that is. It's a 40 or 50-year-old man giving alcohol and drugging a 13-year-old girl and doing that. But Quentin Tarantino is quoting in an interview, and you could Google this, saying, she was asking for it. Roman Polanski received a standing ovation after this happened from Hollywood at an award show, including by the champion of women, Meryl Streep. Are you sure she's not just an establishment propagandist? Including by Jack Nicholson, whose house the rape occurred at. By the way, did I ever mention to you that Robert De Niro was investigated in 1999 by police? He was questioned after a pedophile ring was busted, and it turned out the pedophile ring had the address and phone number of De Niro. Now, police questioned him for a full day and ultimately let him off, but I'm sure that was just a coincidence. Don't you think? So members of Hollywood and the media continue to cover this stuff up. You can see the media themselves, whether it's Charlie Rose's sexual abuse, whether it's Matt Lauer, who literally had a button on his door where he could lock the door behind him and sexually abuse women. This is disgusting stuff. But the media knows about this, Hollywood knows about it, and they continue to cover it up. Well, I'm also going to post a link below to a video I made about Harvey Weinstein and pedophilia in Hollywood. Because Corey Feldman, who was a child star in Hollywood, has attempted to blow the whistle for years. And he has stated time and time again that he was a victim of Hollywood pedophilia, and that pedophilia is the deep, dark secret in Hollywood, that the Me Too stuff got blown wide open with Harvey Weinstein and all the people that blew the whistle. But the real cover-up is in pedophilia. And that still Hollywood and the media are not talking about it. It's all one big cover-up. And there's a video, Corey Feldman, and I'm going to post all these links in the description note. Check them out. Went on The View and attempted to blow the whistle on pedophilia in Hollywood. And they chastised him and said, how dare you try to destroy an entire industry for exposing that you were a victim of pedophilia and that many other children in the industry are victims of pedophilia. Hollywood, the media, and the government have a pervasive infestation of sexual abuse and pedophilia. And every day that we remain silent about what is really happening is a day that another child falls victim to sexual abuse, another child falls victim to pedophilia. We have a moral duty and an obligation to fight back against this system, and you can see it time and time again. It's why all of these corrupt people in Hollywood come to the defense of James Gunn. It's why all of these people in the media come to the defense of James Gunn and all of these pedophiles. Why they covered up for Harvey Weinstein. Why there are convicted pedophiles who are known that have been permitted to continue working as producers for Nickelodeon. Where just a few weeks ago, multiple people who worked at Disney were found to be pedophiles. They were taken down in a pedophilia bust. Please share this link to help spread this information. And please, talk to everyone you can about what is happening to further raise public awareness, to show just how corrupt the power structure in Hollywood, the mainstream media, and the political establishment really is. Follow me on my other social media. I'm Tom FFRnews on BitChute, Tom Anderson on Gab.